what the fuck is stopping us from just throwing ourselves off a bridge and giving up and saying, yeah, the planet is dying, the government hates us, the animals are leaving, the aliens aren't contacting us, we might be alone, it just might be you and me, but that's okay, because do you really need anyone else?
Most young men have been robbed of any ambition of owning a home or having a wife and kids, so they retreat and escape into fiction video games. Your employer doesn't care about you, your government doesn't care about you, and some people's families don't even care about them. Why would they contribute to a world that hates them? The comment perfectly summarizes the mindset of our generation and my mindset just a couple of years ago. I was sat at home with the sole goal of maximizing the amount of time that I could spend playing video games. And a year before that, it was much the same, except I was maximizing the amount of time I could spend intoxicated. These days, life looks a lot different. And how does it look so different? Because I started looking at it differently. Hear me out. The change in my perspective was in no small part because of a conversation that I had with my brother. He was calling me out for sitting around and doing nothing all the time, for making nothing of myself. I told him that life was a game I never consented to playing, and that there was nothing in it for me. I felt as though the world was a hostile environment with no redeeming qualities, and I told him that my laziness was an act of rebellion against the conditions of life. But he pointed out my bullshit. There is nothing rebellious about giving in. I had convinced myself that when pressed up against the hard edges of reality, my submission was in some way a victory. Because while I couldn't change the conditions of life, I couldn't change the fact that I needed to get a job, to make money, to eat 3 times a day, to get enough sleep, to take out the trash and walk the dog, I thought that I could refuse to do all of those things, to do the bare minimum. Then at least I was changing my reaction to the conditions. At least I controlled that. My back was against the wall and I felt as though it was my struggling that was leaving the bruises. So I thought I should just stop struggling, to just allow the canines of death to slowly close in on my jugular 1 second at a time. I hoped that maybe if I stopped wriggling, stopped resisting, that I could befriend my own decay, that I could befriend death, and that if I did, he would at least grant me comfort in my demise. This was my rebellion. While life employed me to run from death, to sprint as fast as I could until my throat tasted of metal, until lactic acid leaked into my veins and I inhaled my own sweat, I could simply switch sides, stop resisting, go gently, and let the chips fall where they may. And while my job would then be not to run, not to try, but to sit down and wait while death did his, at least that was a job I could work from home. But it was not a home. It was a shelter. See, when you walk into the office of existence and hand in your resignation letter, you renounce your place in the world too. You alienate yourself from the very soil from which you grew. It's one of the many prices to be paid for medically induced apathy. You can't numb yourself without side effects. You may not realize it, but you are in a chess game against decay. And yes, it's hard, and yes, you didn't make the rules, and yes, you don't remember putting your name in the bucket, but you're here now. This is real, it's happening right here, right now, right in front of your face, and it's your move. So what are you gonna do? Hesitate? Flip the board like a child throwing his toys? Or are you gonna make the best fucking move you can? Sure, decay is most likely to eventually checkmate you when your body turns cold, but that's not what's happening right now. Right now, you're in a game of chess against decay, and it's not over yet. There's still moves to be made. Sure, he'll probably win. So far, he's undefeated, but he's never played you before. Don't you want to make him sweat? Don't you want to see the look of hesitant doubt in his eye as you refuse to fall for one of his tricks? His subtle acknowledgement of substance as you refuse to take his bait? Because sure, he'll probably win, but I'll be goddamned if I don't have that smug motherfucker leaning forward in his chair. Because it's not about how the game ends up. It's about how the game plays out. You don't sit down at the piano of life just to get to the end of the song. And you don't lose just because the song ends. You play to make the most beautiful song that you can. The end of a song is not the destination of the song, nor is any one part of it. The destination of your life is your life. You're here now. You're not in the waiting lobby while the party goes down in the penthouse. You're here, this is it. And every single move that you make can be infused with skill, virtue, goodness, and beauty. Or it can be a mere number. Move number 6, same as move number 5. Just a half-baked attempt to get the game over with. You can play better than that. You are better than that. The rules of the game are strict, and your opponent is skilled, but what if it wasn't that way? What if it was easy, and you knew you were going to win? You would disengage. But I know I'm going to lose, and that's why I'm disengaging. Oh, you mean death? To that, I would say, you just don't know what game you're playing. If the purpose of a song was to get to the end, then the shortest song would be the best. If the purpose of a song was to remain playing, then the longest song would be the best. But when you sit down at the piano of life, you don't lose just because the song ends. The reason you feel as though you're destined to lose, as if your actions are completely futile, is because you're pointing your attention at the outcomes of your actions, rather than the qualities they embody. And the ultimate outcome is death. And so you see no value in any of it. Existence is a blank canvas against which we paint our actions with varying degrees of artfulness. The goal of the game is to paint artfully, to bring what we value into the land of the living. The value of that is embedded, not extracted, repackaged, repurposed, and served up to some self-serving goal to which you foolishly aspire. And this apathy of the youth, this collective renouncement of our existent citizenships, is not merely the product of weakness, of failure of character, or pressure of circumstance, but of a collective delusion that life is not art, but science. The delusion that the value of life cannot be self-contained, that it must, for some reason, serve something other than itself, and that because it does not, because it ends, it's somehow valueless. In the work of one of our most respected scientists, Ian McGilchrist, it is revealed that the left hemisphere of our brains, the scientific extractor of essence and mapper of the territory, the great categorizer and producer of language, is refusing to stay in its lane. Where it's supposed to create representations of the world, maps of the territory for our right hemispheres to use, it now imposes those two-dimensional maps upon us as if they were the world which they map. But abstractions devoid of context cannot contain intrinsic value. And so where we used to feel as though existence is justified, we've become incapable of that same sentiment. Until you recognize the intrinsic value of goodness for goodness' sake, of beauty for beauty's sake, and truth for truth's sake, you'll be playing the game of life slouched, dismissive, and disengaged. You will be good only in public, and do whatever you can get away with in private. Life will become meaningless, and you will rot from the inside before the culture that dismissed you ever has a chance at imposing its negligent rot upon you. So stop slouching, lean forwards in your chair, lock in, and make the best moves that you can. Not because of what they will get you, but because of what you will get them. Existence. Become an instrument of all that you value. Make yourself a portal through which good, true, and beautiful moves can be afforded their place on the board of life. Be the reason they are made manifest, and in doing so, run. Sprint as fast as you can until your throat tastes of metal, until lactic acid leaks into your veins, until you inhale your own sweat. And then tell me that the reason you slept in is because the government hates you. Tell me the reason you skipped breakfast is because the world is mean. The world is mean. But if you switch sides, allow decay to employ you, and make other people carry the weight of your existence, then so are you.